how are you all? I'm not going to waste my time and your time in long introductions. I am going to come right on point, and that is we are going to learn about Steve Jobs, none other than the Steve Jobs. Guys, you know what? If you will ask me that who is an innovator, so after Thomas Edison, okay, Henry Ford, and Walt Disney, so there's only one name, and this is about that gentleman. He died on 5th of October 2011. All right, and yes, this was the month, right? It has been okay now 10 years, right? He would remain a person who will be with us though he's no more, right? We will talk about it, but in a few moments time. All right, okay, let's get started. Steve Jobs was born on 24th of February 1955, okay, and as just said earlier, he died, okay, the unfortunate part with the pancreas cancer, he died on the 5th of October 2011. Steve Jobs was born in Mountain View, is south of San Francisco, okay, California. So Joanne Shibble, she was his mother. She was a student, okay, and Abdul Fattah Jindali, he was his biological father. All right. This gentleman, Mr. Jindali, he was a Syrian immigrant, okay, and he was there in University of Wisconsin, okay, as a teaching assistant. Shibble, all right, Joanne Shibble, his mother, they met at the university. They got a strong bonding, okay, of friendship, and that bonding turned into an affection, and they ended up getting married. They traveled to Syria. On their return to the US, they found out that Miss Shibble, she was pregnant, right? All right. So at that time, both the parents of Jobs, they decided not to, go for the parenthood. All right, they were not ready. So they decided to place Jobs on adoption. So now let's see what will happen and how Steve Jobs, in fact, the real name of Steve Jobs, it was Stephen, okay, and he was known as, Steve, right? And yes, how Paul comes and how Jobs come, we'll be getting to know in a few moments time, okay, so bear with me. All right, so the adoptive parents, when Steve was 2 years old, he was there with Clara and Paul Jobs, right? His adoptive parents, right? So Clara, she worked as an accountant, and whereas Mr. Paul Jobs, he was a machinist, and he was in fact a veteran Coast Guard. He used to spend most of his time in garage, okay, of his house, where his father, Paul Jobs, he used to fix some kind of electronics. All right, that was a time where Jobs got to know and learn how the things are fixed. Okay, so that was, ladies and gentlemen, a tipping point where he started to learn and develop all the things which were and has to direct link with electronics. Let's learn something about schooling of Steve Jobs. So Jobs went to Homestead High School. It was in Portland, and thereon he went to Reed College, and unfortunately over there he had only spent 6 months. He was dropout. There Steve went for one course, and that was a course in calligraphy. All right. In fact, that was the tipping point for Steve, where he developed an interest for typography. Ladies and gentlemen, typography means simply the style, okay, something which has to do on printing, right? So style and appearance on print, that is typography. Life after dropping out, what Steve was into after dropping out from the college. Steve, as young teenager, he started to explore the flea market. Okay, flea market is a place where you can get easily cheap and second hand goods, okay, of any type. So used to go day in and day out of the flea markets which were based in Mountain View, okay. Along with that, he started to attend the workshops of, there was, at that time there was no concept of workshops. It was in fact a talk or talks of scientists at Hewlett-Packard. And these sessions of going to the talks of the scientists who used to work and naturally of Hewlett-Packard. So that develops in fact an interest in young Steve Jobs to do something of what at Hewlett-Packard they were doing. So this interest in fact compelled him, forced him to meet Bill Hewlett, who in fact the co-founder of Hewlett-Packard. All right. So he didn't even get the parts he was looking for, but he in fact got a summer job at Hewlett-Packard. Thereon, after finishing that summer job at Hewlett-Packard, young Steve Jobs landed a job in Atari company as a game designer. Okay, but as he was a genius, he was a guru of tech, so he left all the things and he went to India. He traveled to India to explore for taking a spiritual, relief, a spiritual holiday. Okay, so he was on that trip, and that is the reason he traveled all the way to India. When he came back after all this journey, he started Apple Computer, and that was the point where he in fact joined hands with Steve Wozniak. In fact, this guy, Steve Wozniak, young Steve Wozniak, was his friend from his high school, Homestead. So now let's learn some points about founding and leaving Apple Computer. I have named it in this fashion so you can understand it. All right, in 1976, young Steve Jobs, when he was 21 years old, he decided to go on this venture, okay, with Wozniak. But definitely, when you go on a entrepreneurial venture, so you have to have some bucks, right? So over there, what these both young entrepreneurs did, on his part, Steve Jobs, he sold out his Volkswagen bus. Okay, please don't mingle up the bus with the 27-seater or 20 or more than that seater complete bus. Okay, in fact, it was at that time the name of the or the model name of that car. On the other, Steve Wozniak, he sold out his calculator, his scientific calculator, okay, and thereon they decided that they are going to make smaller, okay, and cheaper, but computers which are going to be accessible to everybody. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, that as I said, that Steve Jobs was a visionist, was a futurist. So by having such a vision, that was the moment that he thought about a home computer, which in fact we are having in our homes. So naturally, personal computer was the tagline and the name or the title which he could come up with, because as I just talked about, that home computer thing cannot be given it as a sellable, or as from the marketing other point of view, we cannot name it as home computer. So it was decided to call it as a personal computer. Thereon, the Apple I and Apple II computer were born, okay, and they gave Apple so much fame that they need to take their company, which was a private company, to Wall Street. Okay, and those who want to learn about Wall Street, so please grace the comment box. Okay, and I will make a video inshallah on this Wall Street. Both the Steve Jobs and Wozniak, they decided to take the company to list it on NYSE. Okay, you know what happened? On the day they took it from a private to a public company, the first day, the market value of this company reached beyond $1.2 billion. Can you imagine? So they were rewarded a public company. You need to know who are in already business, who are CEOs, who are managers, who are business students. Okay, so you must have learned that right after making a private company to a public company, we need to have a CEO. For that matter, Steve Jobs, he was looking after a CEO for his company. Thereon, he hired a guy. His name was John Scully. In fact, he was working at that time with PepsiCo as their marketing expert. All right. It is very famous that Steve Jobs called him up, okay, in his office, and he put him two options. I'll read out for you. He put one option in front of John Scully, that he said that do you want to sell sugar water all your life, or you want to be the part of the world's innovative company and change the world? So he took the latter option, okay, and then he left PepsiCo and became the CEO of Apple. Now Apple in trouble. Why Apple in trouble? Because at that time IBM was there, Hewlett Packard was there, right? So they in fact developed and designed many great machines than Apple computer. Okay, so that was the reason that Apple had faced this setback. Okay, and there were some flaws and there were some complaints by the consumers. The board of governors at Apple Computers, they decided that they should say now, and it is the time to say goodbye to Steve Jobs, because he's not doing his job as he has to. Okay, and now let's see what happens to Steve Jobs. Let's see what is the fate of Steve Jobs. After when Steve Jobs was, in a way, he was fired, and as he at that time, in fact, Steve has had no official title, okay, because in the company he was only a co-founder. So co-founder officially has no worth. Okay, so that was the reason that Jobs left Apple in 1985. Okay, thereon, here for all the managers, all the business people, the students, there's a lesson, and there are lessons. Why? Because in today's world, there is no such company till now, right from 75 or beyond, until now, that a guy who has had, in fact, given birth, okay, to a company like a baby of his own, right, and then he or she, they have been fired out. There's no company, and not even Microsoft. Okay, they both, okay, were from 75, right, and even where is Hewlett Packard? Bill Hewlett, okay, and the other guy, Intel, IBM. Nobody has had ever had to listen to such a music, okay, that they have been fired, and then when they have been kicked off from the company, they started thereon within a less than I don't know, I mean what was the exact time, but less than 2 months time, they built a company named as Next, and alone it was a single-handed venture by Steve Jobs. It was his own $12 million he had invested in, and what not. he built a company specializing in new hardware and software. Okay, and believe you me, in fact, the operating system which is now of Apple, in fact, it is the same operating system which, in fact, Steve he designed and developed at Next Incorporated. Okay, in 1996, Apple, in fact, Apple Computers, they in fact bought Next Incorporation for $429 million. Okay, and why? Because when when at Apple Computer, when Board of Governors, they have sensed in the late 95, 94 that now Apple is going down. Okay, so we need somebody who is there and who can take the company back at its own feet. Okay, so they have only one name, and that was Steve Jobs. So in 96 they approached Steve Jobs, and then they have requested him to please come on board again as the CEO. Over there, there were many interesting things happened. Let's see what was that interesting thing. Before anything, he, in fact, when he came on board in 97, he self-imposed a salary of $1 a year. Do you know that? No, none of the CEOs till now they have they have done such a remarkable step for their company, but Steve did. So now, first of all, let's look into the attire, and I've named it as attire of Jobs, or Jobs attire. You have seen that CEOs wear bespoke clothes. Bespoke means custom made, tailor made. Okay, where they wear expensive neckties, expensive shirts, trousers, jackets. But Steve also though used to wear the same. But what happens is that in 1980, when he traveled to Japan, he happened to visit Sony Electronics. Okay, he found that from a security guard to a CEO, all were wearing uniforms. That really was fascinating. And for Jobs, when he came back to his company, so he said to everybody, from now onwards, I want that everybody should wear a uniform. But you know what? People turned out that they said it is simply boring, and we are not going to wear this boring uniform thing. Okay, they are going to be in the regular clothes. Whereupon Steve he said that, okay, if you really don't want to wear, but I can wear, and what he did was right away he ordered the designer, somebody who was in Japan. But please mind you that the first black turtleneck T-shirt was not black turtleneck T-shirt. Okay, it was in fact Japanese, and Japanese style is kind of a there was a collar and it goes like cross. Okay, so you can check it on internet, but authentic source. Okay, who was the real original designer, right? So thereon he started to wear a turtleneck black T-shirt with a blue Levi's, alright, jeans, and with a pair of white sneakers. And you can see that to honor Steve Jobs, though I won't find any black turtleneck T-shirt, but I said, okay, why not to wear somewhat related or okay, close to the color of what Jobs, the great Jobs, used to wear. Okay, Steve started to wear this attire, and he used to wear it in his home and as well as at his workplace. All right. So thereon, the catch is, you have seen that every company, whether it was a startup or a joint venture or whatever, all the CEOs, take the example of Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook guy, Elon Musk, Satya Nadella, of the current CEO of Microsoft. Okay, Google, whether it's Larry Page, Sergey Brin, or the current CEO of them, Mr. Sundar Pichai. So all they wear, and they started in fact wearing, and not in fact I would say started wearing, they started to follow, as whatever he did, the people and the world followed him. The birth of a list of things which at Apple Steve did for the people, the world. I named it a portable world. Okay. First of all, he in fact launched the Macintosh. He called it iMac. Okay. And yes, the same personal computer which he visioned for, which he looked into the future at that time back in 75. Okay. So he instead of giving it a boring name, all right, he gave it a name as Macintosh. Computer is not any XYZ company. It is only of Apple, and Macintosh means Apple. So he named iMac. Thereon he introduced and launched a new thing. Though MP3 players or MP4 or whatever there was in the globe, right? But he gave them a thing which was outstanding, which was out of the box, and that was, he called it as iPod. And thereon he launched iPod Nano. And moving on, what is today's Spotify? Spotify came from where? Yes, none other than the iTunes and iTunes Store, right? Thereon he came up with a flagship thing, and that was Apple Stores. Yes, it was none other than Steve Jobs' idea. It was his idea, and a flagship to a flagship thing, ladies and gentlemen, and that was he in what I am having it right now. Okay, it was what he said. We are not going to call it a laptop. We are going to call it a MacBook, right? And we know what is a MacBook. Okay, I would take a break over here, and would like to talk to you that again, ladies and gentlemen, that my dear viewers, you have not seen that a company in fact is a tech company, is a computer company, manufactures computers, and they one fine morning they launched a phone which in fact changed and positively radicalized our lives. The launch of iPhone. He in fact made sure that wherever you are in jungle somewhere, you are in desert, you are in no man's land. But if you have a connectivity, and yes, nobody has ever thought that a computer is a computer or a laptop is a laptop, okay? But we cannot even imagine that a baby of a laptop or a baby of a computer in the form of an iPad. And yes, he genuinely proved himself that he was and he really is a legend. And yes, with iPad, after iPad, it was App Store, okay, and there's OS X Leon, and not to forget Pixar films. A Pixar film is in fact was bought by George Lucas. Okay, he was a guy from you should know Star Wars. Okay, a Space Odyssey, the Planet of the Apes. Okay, he was that guy. And in fact, people who are enjoying nowadays all the movies, Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, Zootopia, whatever you name it, it was a fruit which was given a seed, okay, a seed of love, and he showed the world that there is something we call computer animated, and from computer animation you can design, you can develop a fabulous film, and yes, all the movies which we have seen, Toy Story, The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, It was in fact the product of Pixar films, which later it was given as the name of Pixar Animation and Pixar Animation Studios. And yes, later Walt Disney Company, Disney, they in 2006 they have in fact bought Pixar Animation, all right, and now it is part of the Disney company, all right. Moving quickly onwards to once again a thing which no company back in 75 and till now can ever conceive, and that was the idea of selling their service, okay, or products through commercial, because it was only Steve Jobs, it was his brainchild, it was his idea that why not to sell our products, okay, from a beautiful dynamic commercials. And not only that, he in fact came up with taglines. None of the CEOs, none of the board of governors, none of the chairmen or whatever, presidents, CEOs, they have had never thought about it. And that was, I got some fabulous taglines by his products and what he has had created. The first was insanely great, think different, okay, and yes, stay hungry, stay foolish, right? And the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So that was the whole, in fact, a commercial line for the Think Different commercial. Heartening element in that was his cancer. In late 2003, the cancer of pancreas, he diagnosed with that, and thereon Jobs, he never went for right away the surgery. In fact, he went for a surgery in 2004. It was hidden from the enemies, okay, and the rivals, okay. Back in 2009, that he has got this problem, because in fact the tumor came back, though the tumor was removed, okay, and there was the time that he nominated Tim Cook, who is the current CEO, as you all know, of Apple Incorporated. He made him as CEO, Chief Operating Officer of Apple, and then he went on and in 2010, unfortunately, he went on an indefinite leave, because he never knew that he's going to come back or not. And yes, on 5th of October 2011, he died. And yes, as far as the children and wife are concerned, guys, in fact, I got all the things from Britannica Encyclopedia, okay, for you. And Britannica Encyclopedia is in fact the name of authenticity, okay. So there, so what I'm going to read out for you, there's another source which I have got it. I will put it in the description, okay, all the sources, right? But this is incorrect, and please don't go on it. So let me just share with you what they have had to say about his children and wife. They have to say that Steve Jobs got married with a girl named Laureen Powell. Okay, that was the first girl. She met him in Stanford. Remember, Steve was he went to a Homestead elementary school. Thereon he went to Reed College, okay, in Portland, Oregon. Afterwards, he never got any education, right? That was his proof. Like okay, Bill Gates, he went to Harvard. He did his, okay, MBA, right? And yes, he dropped out during his MBA, right? But he later finished. That is another story. So here it is absolutely incorrect. Steve never studied anything. He developed all his interest, as I told you, from by attending the Hewlett Packard scientists talks, okay, and thereon he developed an eagerness and interest, okay, and thereon the rest is in front of you, right? So it is incorrect to say that he got married and he has got children and blah blah. There was no such thing. Remember, guys, only in 2005, when in late 96, early 97, the president of Stanford University, he in fact called Jobs to invite him on his convocation. But he declined, and he said simply that I don't have time. Because, guys, like all other CEOs, Steve was only the person, he never wasted his time on going to interviews, to going to talk shows, to going in the conferences. Whenever he came in front of the camera, he only came for his flagship launching of the products he has had, right? Yes, only on the net you can find only there was one rare interview with Bill Gates, right? And that was probably a very important conference somewhere, I don't know, okay? So it was only in 2005, as I said earlier, he went there for a opening speech, for a keynote speech, okay? It is on YouTube, okay? It is going to change your life, and yes, it changed mine as well, right? So lastly, talking about movies, if you talk about movies, so Jobs was the movie in 2013, and Ashton Kutcher, he did the role of Steve Jobs. Thereon in 2015, there was a second movie on Steve Jobs with the proper Steve Jobs, his name, okay, and Michael Fassbender, he played the role of Steve Jobs. And yes, there was and only till now a biography came out, and it was written by Walter Isaacson. Okay, he's in fact the CEO of Aspen Institute. Okay, and he has already penned down biographies of Henry Kissinger. There's Benjamin Franklin and Albert Einstein, and then this guy. None other than Steve Jobs. Don't forget to like it, and those who are watching me on Facebook, so please like it over there, subscribe it, okay, and then share it. And as I said, for this is a vlog, a video, whatever you can name it, for people who wants to create an organization, build an organization. You want to learn how to hire people for the right job. So you've got to watch this video and read who is and who was Steve Jobs, what he used to do to launch and to think and brainstorm on each of his product, how it should be marketed, how it should be given a so much fascinating out of the box product. So whatever there is a list, etc., etc., etc. So with this note, I would say goodbye to all of you, and again, don't forget to watch and don't forget to like, and yes, please do subscribe it. I will catch you in some of my other video. Thank you.